What's going on, everyone? I'm here with Matt Iklodi. We got ProPlus Painters in the house. You've been in business for 5 years. You're at 20K monthly revenue. Um, would love to know after 5 years how that happened, man. I don't usually see 5 years. It seems like you're on the precipice of growth, but kind of stuck at 20. That's probably what's happening. Are you painting? Okay. And tell me a little bit about what's going on, man.
Cool. So, yeah, we're painting and power washing, and we offer like window washing and gutter cleaning on the side just to stay busy
Okay.
sometimes during the fall months and
Sure.
sometimes. But yeah, mostly painting and pressure washing. Um, and it all started during COVID. I went to
Love
school.
that.
Yeah, so I went to school for football, and I had a startup marketing agency at the time, and obviously I was just learning and trying stuff and wasn't going like very well, but I didn't know anything at the time either. And I got a concussion and didn't like the next level, and I didn't like college at all. So I was like, this is
Yeah.
stupid. Like, COVID hit, we were going to go online, and I was paying all this money out of pocket to go to school
Yeah.
and learn
Crazy,
stuff
right?
yeah. And at this point, I was already like obsessed with like personal development and business books and courses online and
Sure.
all that stuff. I had started a few previous businesses in high school and stuff. So I was that kid. But COVID hit, and I was like, shoot, I got to make money. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm not going to sit at home. So I started painting and power washing. Um, and I made a post on Nextdoor, and it changed my entire career. One
No
post.
kidding.
Yeah. So
Amazing.
in my area, I was the first contractor on Nextdoor, um, as like, advertising basically, but
Sure.
with not paid ads, just posting, as a business owner, like, hey, I'm looking for work. Anybody got any painting or power washing? And I was even hustling, like throwing mulch and stuff to get started and build up that
Sure.
clientele.
Sure.
Um, and sure enough, got some customers. It was funny. I had no experience, no money at all. I was 19 years old, so I was broke, no experience, no equipment. So I started by borrowing my first like 20 customers,
No
wheelbarrow,
excuses is
shovel.
what you had. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. And then I built up a little cash, bought my first power washer,
Cool.
and then just built out from there from
Cool.
scratch. So yeah.
Yeah. So no excuses. I love that, man. I think that hustler mentality, don't stop being that way. But for me, I had the same sort of mentality, kind of like, gritty. I just channel it in different ways in different elements of the business now. Maybe you're experiencing that too. It's like that's a great tool set to have. So
Right.
what's going on, man? You called the meeting. I see that you put it like, management of the crews is becoming tricky, scheduling the jobs.
Yeah.
I can't really go much further. I need to know what software you're using. What are you using to manage everything?
Well, I started with Marcotte, for CRM wise, and then I transferred to Drip Jobs after meeting Caleb down in Tampa.
Cool.
Um, and I fell in love with it. Now I'm on the pro version. I absolutely
Nice.
love it. Super
Good,
helpful,
good, good.
very professional. I applaud you for that piece of
Thanks, man.
equipment. It's just so
Yeah.
helpful. But basically, yeah, just that. And
Okay.
I basically built all off of, word of mouth and Nextdoor. I haven't run any paid ads ever. I just bought a website this fifth year in. I have
Okay.
done more than 20, but it's really hard. Like, it just feels like there's hundreds of tasks to get done. It's all on
Yeah.
me. And
Yeah.
it's just been really hard to scale. I don't know why.
Okay. Um, I'm a big proponent of language. You being a personal development guy, without you knowing that, and I could talk to you like this because you told me that you're in a personal development.
Yeah.
Don't use those terms. Those words are just that's your story. That isn't the story of growth. It's been done.
Mhm.
$20,000, small hurdle. I
Right.
think that change your word tracks, because when you leave this coaching call, dude, if you take that with you,
Right.
it'll be hard. You're going to set yourself up for hard, and everything will be hard, right? So just say that you're still learning the process of scaling. It's just like a different way to look at it, and that has to, like, if you take that principle and you apply it to all these different areas of business, like when it comes to time for a customer that frustrated and you're in a really anxious state and you're depressed because a job isn't finishing and you're losing money and your guys are getting stressed and customers being a pain, like how you interpret that will make all the difference, right? Like, I'm think you told yourself how hard it was in the beginning when you were telling me this story. I think you looked at school being hard and you're like, dude, this is take compared to what I have to do, right? So
Right.
I think as tasks get put on your back and your shoulders, it just feels like pressure more than anything.
Yeah.
Um, Generally speaking, the miniature progress is what you need to focus on, right? For me, we got to first, I see major red flags with the way you're operating. Kind of sounds like you're bragging about not spending money on ads. And I'm not
No,
saying that could be the case,
just the way
or maybe you've never done it.
No, I didn't mean to come off that way. I guess I have a confident tone, but
I love that, and it's good. I just want to make sure because, like, dude, we want to use money as like we want to use money, dude. Like, make money a servant of you and your business. Here's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a company that does. First of all, you mentioned two big things, right? You do painting and pressure wash.
mm-hmm.
When it comes to scheduling, dude, like the key element and principle of scheduling is predictability. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Right. So, like, in other words, like, scheduling is pretty easy if you know, generally speaking, how long things take. So I'll tell you what I do in my business, then I'm going to ask you. When I get a request for a job, I'm in a position where I can decide if that job fits our business model. If you were a restaurant and you were a steakhouse
Mm-hmm.
and somebody, instead of ordering what was on your menu, instead said, hey, Matt, I'd like over easy eggs with some pancakes. Could the restaurant probably throw that together?
Yeah.
Of course. But at the end of the day, they don't. And they don't take the money, even though they could, because it'll throw off the scheduling in the back of the house in terms of how they operate. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, so you are the steward of that, dude. You have to be the person at the gate that, even though it's easy to grab jobs like pressure washing, a little bit here, a little bit there, just to keep the crew busy, it comes with a cost. Are you seeing that?
Yeah. For sure.
Do you find that one of the reasons scheduling is difficult is because you're taking on all these different things?
Yeah, for sure.
So the first thing I would do, let's say you and I were engaged in some sort of coaching arrangement. One of the things I do is, let's assume this is your first day in business. You've learned a lot in the last 5 years. That's called equity in sweat, right? You learned.
Right.
So if you were to start today, what I want you to think about, dude, is like, what is going to be your core offer to the marketplace? Because right now it's unclear. And if you have an unclear offer, that's going to trickle into your marketing. Because what's going to happen is like, you have to understand that people are attracted to what they want in that moment. And generally speaking, if they're paying for it, they want an expert at that thing, right? Would you agree that, like, dude, like, if you hire someone to do, I don't know, roofing, you're going for a roofer, you know what I'm saying? So some people might be okay with it, but for scaling, you need systems that you can compound on. So let me ask you this, man. What's your core offer? I want to know this. What do you love to do? What do you love to sell? And what do you think your team loves to do? Tell me what that is.
I love, for exterior, I'm in Ohio, so that's another reason why. Rainy days on exterior, not enough interiors lined up, so we'll go power wash on a rainy day, but the past year and a half, we've really started to scale up our interior painting during those fall and winter months, which has been super helpful. But I would say my favorite is either decks or interior painting.
Okay.
My crew's just happy to work. I would say their favorite is exterior, but I don't know. I'd have to ask them.
So exteriors for you mean predictability, because you can do it, obviously, aside from the weather. Let's take weather out, but let's assume it's just season for it. Mm-hmm. Predictability, big job for the schedule, takes the pressure off of you as a business owner, because maybe some of those jobs are 4 or 5 days at a time. Mm-hmm. Puts the whole team on there. It's good margin on there. Do decks provide that same thing? Because generally speaking, when I've done decks, mm-hmm. it's usually a 1-day gig or a 1.5-day gig, 2 days at the max, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, right. Yeah, but they seem very high margin. I feel like there's less. I have less. I know a lot of people don't like decks, but I personally love decks. They're like bread and butter. Right. And if you get enough of those, then 1 to 2 day projects are fine because you have so much work. Like my problem
Do you
definitely
really
wasn't
feel like you're getting a lot of those, or do you, like, in other words, we have to look at it with the 3 checks here. Is it easy to market? Yes or no?
100%. Yes.
Is it easy to sell?
Yes.
Is it easy to produce?
Yes.
Good. So if that's true for you and your demographic, then we can add that to our menu as something that we do.
Mhm.
Minimum has to be, at least from this would be my rule, is that it has to at least be able to staff 2 individuals for a whole day.
Definitely.
And that has to be the rule, whether it's enough work or not, because I have to create leverage for me when it comes to scheduling. Scheduling, bro, is one of the hardest things as a
So
business owner.
hard.
Terrible, right? So I need leverage. I can't just take random things. I can't just take half-day jobs. I can't just paint 1 bedroom. And sometimes it's hard to tell people that, but ultimately I'm not going to put myself in a position of feeling like I can't schedule out my jobs, right? So we can add that to the menu. Let's talk about interior painting, because under the umbrella of interior, let me list it out for you. You got wallpaper removal, popcorn removal, drywall fixes, sometimes wood repair inside, sometimes, right? You got doors, ceiling, walls, trim, right?
Mhm.
It's like 9 different things.
Right.
What's on your menu?
Well, we get a few wallpaper requests, but we usually just funnel them to a guy I know in town. Most of the stuff is your typical,
Yeah, for a sec.
gosh dang it. Um, your typical interior, so walls, ceilings, trim. We don't do like I've never had a request for the popcorn removal, but wallpaper we'll get and we'll send it to a guy we know. And then
Okay.
all the other stuff like wood repair, drywall work,
Okay.
I have
So let me ask you,
pretty handy
so let me
guy.
ask you this. So how much do you charge per square foot for walls?
Probably by the wall or by the room.
You tell me.
Well, I usually do it by the room, and a lot of the interiors I eyeball.
Okay. So when it comes to scalability, right? Because
Mhm.
that's our big gold star.
Right.
You and I both know that's not scalable, right?
Yeah. Well, the problem is like I'll get a small job and then that will lead to like 5 more customers or a big job on their new house or
Okay.
like, hey, just do the rest of the house, stuff like that. So I've
That's
like
fine.
didn't want to
But
feel too
but
cocky and
what
like saying I don't do small work anymore because I know there's a lot of guys out there who do that, you know.
again, and I'm going to come at you, it's not cocky, it's being a business professional. Because at the end of the day, would you consider a steakhouse being cocky if they say we're not cooking your eggs?
No.
Do you know how many jobs I've won by being honest instead of cocky?
Right.
Right? Ms.
Okay.
Jones, unfortunately, I'd love to do this job for you, but the way our scheduling works and the size of our teams, we have a certain threshold in terms of what we can take on.
Threshold.
That
Okay.
minimum is $2,500 worth of work. Do you find as though we could add at least $2,500 worth of work in order to make this work?
Oh,
Otherwise, you know
great
what,
idea.
Miss Jones? It might be in your best interest to see if a handyman can take on the bedroom for you,
That's a
right?
great idea. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just how you look at it. You have to train your customers on how to buy from you, but
Mhm.
you have no rules.
Right.
You don't have pricing. You don't have standards in terms of what you're letting in your house.
Mhm.
So it's all random. That's why
Right.
you're kind of stressed, because it's like, dude, if I called you today and I said, hey, man, I got a bedroom, bro, I could only just hire you for that bedroom. And
Right.
you're going there thinking that you could upsell me, but dude, I just want my bedroom done. And then you feel obligated to take it, right?
Right.
Looks like I lost you here, man. Can't see you.
Yeah.
Are you good?
Keep getting spam calls. I just turned on do not disturb. Sorry.
No problem. No problem. I'm used to it, man. It's business owners. So look,
Okay, good. But
if
yeah,
you were
that makes
starting
total
your business
sense.
today, listen though, if you were starting your business today, man, you have to come up with your standards and your pricing. Like that's number one. Like when a restaurant starts up, dude, they the first thing they do is like, what's on our menu? Like, what are we doing? You need to come up with standard pricing. So for me, when it comes to a whole house on the inside, if I'm only doing a whole house, because that's all I take, we have pricing per square foot on the inside. Now
Yeah.
with exteriors, we do production rates on the outside. It just is easier because you can't use square footage on the outside. You need wall space. So that's where you use production rates. right? You could do production rates on the inside. You could totally do production rates. This is something you should study because here's the deal, dude. Until you get structured pricing and standards of what you take in, this will never change.
Okay.
Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Some like I started without calculating, and then I learned how to calculate after like 2 years. And so now I kind of like eyeball, think it'll take, how much it'll cost, how long it'll
So
take
let me
my
ask you this
guys,
question.
and then I'll backtrack and like, okay, that's about right when I calculate it out. But it's usually around
Okay,
250 to 350 square foot.
let me ask you this. Are you job costing?
How would you define it?
I would define job costing as after the job is done, going back into the job and adding in all the costs that it costs you to perform the job.
Yes. So I just started that this year with a bookkeeper.
Okay. And when do you get the feedback of that data?
Probably about once a week.
Okay.
So after the job's complete.
So after the job's complete, tell me your process of communicating with your bookkeeper.
So we go through all the receipts for that project, the quote for the project, and then the payroll for the project. And he puts it all in and then shows me the net margin. And that's kind of how we calculate.
And you do that for every single job, or do you do it for a few jobs?
We just started it this spring. So we're trying to do it for every single job.
There's an easier way. We just added that feature, but I'll tell you, man, like that's your feedback loop and you need it as quick as possible. I don't know of many bookkeepers that are going to be able to keep up with 3 or 4 jobs a week, dude, as soon as you keep scaling. So I wouldn't really rely on a bookkeeper to help you with this. I'd more so rely on a spreadsheet or software. And the reason why is, dude, because like, you know, what happens if you have to go back for a touch up? Do you like update the bookkeeper on like, hey man, I had to send Joe back, you know, for a touch up. Can you add this to the, you know, so I would definitely recommend looking into what we built or just getting a spreadsheet to get started. Mm-hmm. But this is your feedback loop of what, if your pricing is even accurate. You know, so these are like, we can get crazy with the administrative stuff. How many team members do you have?
So I have 5 in-house and then I have a team of subs who has 4.
Okay, good. Do you keep the 5 guys busy 40 hours a week every single week?
Easily. I could do more. Easily. And that's why I feel so overwhelmed because I don't know, like.
Good. So where do you think the problem is? Because it doesn't seem like it's finding work, right? It seemed like you figured that out. So what do you think the big problem is? Do you think it's like like making better margins? Do you honestly feel like you're making money?
Yeah, but not as much as I've seen Caleb make, you know.
What are you making?
Well, when I did 20,000, it's always varying, you know. That's another hard thing for me.
Are you making like $1,000 a week?
I'm paying myself like $1,000 a week. But
are you making any profit?
Yeah, profit every job. But it's like I'm basically just trying to reinvest to get more stuff at like pretty much every month, you know. So I'm just paying myself what I need to live. Spray guns, new pressure washers, all kinds of equipment. I'm saving up for a Ford Transit, and then I want to start going really hard on content.
Okay, when you say going hard on content, what are you referencing?
So I want to, well, we've already started. So one of my guys who's been with me for 3 years now, he has a drone and a camera, and he loves taking content. So we're getting every exterior, we're getting drone video and pictures of, and then we're going to turn that into a collage, and we're making reels, pictures, and drone stuff for every exterior this year.
Got it. No, that's good, man. It's, you know, it's a good investment. I would say at this stage, you should probably hire a marketing agency to handle your marketing. Do you have anyone that you've hired so far to help you with that? I mean, what's your Google presence look like?
No, nothing. And it's weird because I actually, you know, I had a marketing agency myself, and I've been into marketing all these years. And I've always said, like, I literally don't have the ability, like, I don't even apply any of my marketing stuff because I'm already so busy that it's like I don't even need to run ads. I don't even need to do any of this. I'm already slammed. And that's where it's like, how do I do both? Because I still want to be marketing and know I should be marketing and applying all these things I can do, but I don't have the time and I'm already slammed. You know what I mean? So it's like, how do I don't know.
Yeah. I used to cut lawns as a kid, and like, I could always go back and say, dude, like, cut your lawn. Like, for me, I have better things to do with my time. right? And I think when you become a leader and you look at the big picture, dude, you have to realize that the money needs to be used to buy your time back, right? Somebody that's designed to focus on this week after week after week and provide metrics to you week after week after week. I think, again, you didn't lose your ability to market. I think what's great about that is I used to cut lawns, right? So I know what to look for out of a lawn care service. Would you agree with that? Like, I have leverage that other
Yeah.
people don't because of my experience. But what I'm trying to allude to is, bro, like, you're already telling me you're overwhelmed. You are not going to have the patience, persistence to stick with Facebook campaigns, Google SEO, Google ads, and all the changes that have happened in 5 years.
Right.
To the degree that you need it to be when you have 5 painters and you have a full subcontractor team that's waiting for you to call.
Right.
With that amount of individuals working, generally speaking, bro, each painter should generate between $80,000 and $100,000 a year. So you're definitely not optimized, because that would be about $500,000 of revenue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think on this year, for example, since January, we've sent out already over 300,000 in quotes. So
all right. Well, how far are you booked out to right now? It's May 2nd.
June, middle of June, at least.
Middle of June. And is it one crew that's working together? Or do you have 2 jobs going on? Like, what's going on right now?
Well, it's kind of like I have one in-house crew, and it just depends on the project. Like, if I have a full exterior and it needs to get done by a certain date, or
everybody on it?
So, yeah, such a small window, of time, it has to get done.
Real use case, what's going on today?
Today, I'm at a client's house right now.
Okay.
One of my favorite clients. She's like family to me, basically, but not, you know what I mean? We just actually painted this whole room 2 weeks ago, and now we're doing the full exterior.
Beautiful.
And guys are outside painting and spraying right now with the quick shot.
You got all 5 guys out there?
No, I just have 2.
Where's the other 3?
So the other one is doing a half day, and then the other one is getting out of class. So some of them have like parted up schedules.
Okay, that's sometimes. 2 people. Where's the 3rd?
So it's me, Joe. Me.
Okay, you're counting yourself in the 5.
Scott, Joseph, Keegan, Brandon, me. Yeah.
So you're in the 5.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have 4 painters.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's hard if people have parted schedules, right? I mean, that's kind of difficult to work with. Have you worked that out? I mean, if you have all this work.
I mean, one just got out of school, so now he's back to full time, right? The other one graduates in like literally 2 weeks, and then he's full time. But he's been with me for 3 years, and he's the most trained guy I have. So it's like 2 of the guys are still in school.
So generally, you always have one project going on at a time.
Yeah, I mean, if it rains though, like I'll split them all into go power wash or work on interior work. So it's sometimes like that, and the flexibility of.
But generally speaking, 2 crews aren't self-sufficient. In other words, like if I said if we looked at each crew as a restaurant, you don't have 2 locations. You just have 1 location, and everybody works out of that 1 location.
The sub crew is self-sufficient.
Besides, I don't care about the sub crew.
Okay.
I'm talking about.
Because I keep them busy a lot. Like
is the sub crew working right now?
Yes.
On one of your jobs?
Today, not today.
Okay, so they're not working. So the way I look at it is that you have 1 crew generating all the income that's needed to sustain your business, right? So not only are they responsible to, generate the income for themselves, they're responsible to generate the profit for the entire business, which includes all those fixed costs that you were mentioning earlier, right? The van, the different things that you're doing. That puts a lot of pressure on one job, especially with it being sporadic. Okay. You need another crew to absorb that blow, right? Like even if it's a 2 and a 3, and keeping those crews honest to their own respective jobs and not intermingling the 2, because that's what's happening. If you have a guy that got sent home half day, like he probably, did he volunteer for that, or did you do that intentionally?
Which part?
You told me that one guy that you have only worked a half day.
Yeah. So
was that intentional?
Not on my part, no.
He wanted to go home, or
no? One's in school, but he graduates in 2 weeks. So sometimes, like 2 or 3 days a week, he has class, and could only do
Gotcha.
the
Okay.
second half of the day.
Okay.
So,
But two guys out there, you know, they're you guys that are mostly full time, right?
yes.
Yeah,
And
all this
they're
stuff
definitely
matters.
not
It might seem,
self-sufficient.
dude, it
Definitely
might
not.
seem minuscule, dude, but like for me, it's like, bro, like at the end of the day, you got to look at the what is the end goal for you? Like, I really want to know, like Matt, like what, like at the end of this, man, like 5 years from now, like let's say that's the end or the pinnacle. What does that look like, dude? Like, why are you doing this?
Well, I'm doing it to build an asset that can cash flow, for basically the rest of my life, but that doesn't need me there. So I'm like, how can I make this self-sufficient? Like you said, that's really what I want help in too.
Sure, sure. So do you recognize that like there has to be standards built now after 5 years of like what you allow? Because for me, I'm not hiring a part-time college kid. Like there's no way, there's no universe where I allow that to happen when I only have 5 painters. Because maybe if I have 10 and he's like the 11th that comes in and helps, but you got to realize, dude, you are a startup. Like you have no asset at all right now because there's no pricing. There's no standards of what we do. And unfortunately, like everyone has their own world going on aside from the 2 individuals that are riding for you. And then you have a great sub crew that should be working, right? For you, man, like you need to sit down and just outline, number one, what is my pricing for everything that I do? Like a business is nothing without their pricing, dude. That would be like drip jobs, like just not having a price and me being like, well, today it'll be, and then tomorrow it'll be like, it's just like, it would confuse the market and they don't know what to expect. Like I bet a major curveball gets thrown at you when you quote something and then a customer wants to remove a portion of that quote. Does that ever happen?
Yeah, for sure.
Like if I come, hey, Matt, come quote my whole house. And then at the end, I see the quote and I say, Matt, remove the trim. Like how screwed are you right there? Like on a, you know, like that.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
a
like
problem.
I know, like 250, 350 a square foot, but it sometimes depends on the customer. So I kind of
But you
calculate
know, when you
each
do
one.
trim with walls versus walls by itself, that's a different process. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why that's a foundational element of your business. Cause like, again, what are you doing right now? You're doing all the estimates, aren't you? If you want a business that's free from you,
Right.
you can't be doing the estimates.
Right.
Cause that's just as much of an enslavement as painting.
Right. Yeah. And
You're driving on it.
And I'm in a pretty small town. I've found it really hard to find enough workers, not work. Like
Okay.
it's pretty
There's
much
that
the
hard
opposite.
word, bro. There's that hard word, man. You got to work on your vocabulary when it comes to these minor things. I'm telling you, it might sound weird, but again, you said you're a personal development guy. This stuff matters because I could reverse engineer what you think is hard and look at your strategy, and I'd say, well, there's a hole in this strategy. We could do it right now. How do you find your workers?
Well, one's been with me for 3 years. He was a friend of a friend.
How'd you meet him? Friend of a friend?
Yeah.
Okay.
He one of the other guys was on my crew and recommended him, and he came on, and then the other one
Okay. So
the other one joined the Marines.
Okay.
And then so kept him. He's been around for 3 years. He's great. And then the other one I found also posting to find work on Nextdoor. Ended up hiring him.
Okay.
And then the other one is a family friend's son.
Got it. All luck. Every bit of it was all luck. And the reason something seems hard is because you don't have a strategy that produces results. Right? Like that's everything, bro. Anything that you think is hard is simply because there's no strategy behind it that gives you the confidence to get a repeatable result every single time.
How do I get to a point where I can do all the strategies I have in my mind with marketing, recruitment funnels, building out all the stuff if like I'm constantly managing everything and going to all these quotes and trying to write them up and then going back to the job and helping them get the job done right and all this stuff, It's like, how do I break through this?
Well, is one of your stresses finding work?
Never.
Overwhelmed but guess what?
With work.
Well, let me make this very clear to you. Once you actually get 2 crews going, it then becomes a stress. Because what you're doing right now organically is only sustaining 1 crew and maybe the subcontractor crew every now and again.
I understand what you're saying, but not quite, because the sub crew I'm giving fat jobs to every single week. And
every week.
And I've been doing that for a year, and this June will be a full year.
So you've been able to accomplish all that organically. And the thing is, when you break up your employee crew, which it sounds like you want to do.
I just want to be as big as possible, yeah.
You want to be as big as possible. So you either grab another sub crew or you expand your employee crew. There's only 2 options. Which one do you want to do?
I like the employee crew. I know it's not recommended, I guess, but
I like the employee crew too.
me too, because I like to manage who's representing my reputation.
Brother, I'm with you, right? So when you add another employee crew, okay, it's not a 1-to-1 ratio, right? You need to look at this. If you do 100 estimates right now, there's a closing rate to that number.
Yeah.
Okay. And that number might be 25%, which means you need to do 4 estimates for every 1 sale on average. Okay. Now, think about this for a second. Let's just assume that that keeps 1 crew busy. Do you understand that adding another crew means that you need to do 8 estimates to get 2 sales? That means you need double the lead output in order to make it happen. Does that make sense? You are not going to just magically get double the lead output in order to sustain a crew full time, 40 hours a week, generating $6,000 to $8,000 in produced revenue. There's no way you can just do that by snapping your fingers. Now, you could chunk down your lead time right now. If you added a crew today, your lead time goes from, you said what, mid-June? Then it goes down to what? Maybe close to end of May, because those crews are going to knock out those jobs. Right? So the reality is, in order to do this, you need an injection of capital or your own time, which is stressing you out. You're like, well, you might not be stressed out right now, but if you want to expand, are you following me here? Does this make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
So you need to hire a marketing agency that has what you're doing is you're allocating the responsibility to someone else. Big businesses that grow really big, they have an in-house marketing team. It's a qualification of growth. When you hire a marketing agency, you're just outsourcing it and you're utilizing them as a fractional partner. Now, either you create your own internal marketing team, which you could do. I'm not saying you can't, but right now you don't have the time. So leverage someone else's resources and pass off that responsibility. Now, you talked about a hiring funnel. This is the most crucial element of your business. If you spend any time on anything, it should be you doing the hiring, because you know what to look for. You know your team, so you know who they'll mesh with. No one can replace that.
Right.
Eventually, you might get someone that knows your standards, your culture, but that's like a great investment of your time, is to be a student of a hiring process and challenge yourself to find and hire a stranger, which is a skill set you don't have, besides the Nextdoor guy. And even that was luck, because generally speaking, man, like it doesn't always work out that great, right? Like there's people that I've hired that, dude, like even through a process, they drop the ball or they show me something that I didn't catch in the hiring process. So like that's a skill set that eventually you're going to have to teach someone, learn it now, right? And it starts with just taking action. Get on Indeed, create a form on JotForm or Google Forms with some character-based questions. When you see someone you like on Indeed, send them the form, have them fill it out. That's going to do one of 2 things. It's going to weed out lazy people, and it's going to give you some insight on who's going to get your time. Once you get the form back, you get a phone interview if you really like someone. And then from there, obviously on the phone, you're going to hear their personality. You're going to see how excited they are. You're going to hear enthusiasm. You're going to think, how is this person going to talk to my customer? Then on the last stage, you do an in-person interview. Guess what? During that in-person interview, you make a decision. Do I think that they will make my customer feel safe or not? And if the answer is yes, and they made it all the way through, great. We'll give you a working interview. I haven't promised employment through 7 stages. And you know why? Because what it does is it creates perception that they're working for a legitimate company. They're more likely to cherish the opportunity.
Right.
So it doesn't matter what you do, sales-wise, marketing-wise, doesn't matter what you do administrative-wise. The foundation of your business is the production. When you own a painting business, a service business, a pressure washing business, any sort of those businesses, the product that you give to the marketplace is the people. It is. So the quality of the people, their satisfaction with you is 2 components that make the biggest difference. That's how you get 200 5-star reviews. That's how you have people that want to be a part of what you got going on. And that's how you can recruit talent.
Right. Okay.
So we covered a lot, man. Was this helpful for you?
Yeah, very helpful. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
for sure.
You can come back anytime, man. In a couple of weeks, if you feel like this was helpful, you want to run it back with some new information. I'm going to give you some resources when we get out of here. I'll send you an email with some things that might help you tremendously to get you on the right track and you know, get in alignment with your goals, man. Anything else you want to hit on before we go?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is like my first year, like actually trying to take it seriously and like be
Good.
official. It's kind of more so been like a spring and summer like side hustle, cash grab kind of thing. And now I'm like, okay, what else can I? How do I build like a real? How do I make it a real
Yeah.
thing? You know, because I've kind of just done it to make income to build um, another business, and now I'm like kind of seeing the opportunity that I've actually kind of done. So I'm like, how can I make this real and official now going forward?
Yeah.
So this was really helpful, and that's part of the reason why, you know, all the stuff that we went through is like
Good.
that, is because I didn't see
Okay.
the
Dude,
opportunity.
it takes balls to
Um,
come on here. Okay. I did. It does, dude. Like, no one wants to hear what they know they need to do. But really, what my goal is for you to start taking the action, dude. And that's the key, man. Like, leaders take action when it's uncomfortable, when it sucks, and they do everything in the dark. So
yeah,
when in the light, it just looks like you run a good company, bro. But this stuff is very
yeah.
difficult.
I mean, that's like the main like reason I've been so stressed. It's like I feel like I'm working literally all day as hard as I can, but it's like not on like how do I make time for that stuff? How do I make time
Yeah.
for marketing
Yeah.
strategy? All this hiring, like when I can't even pull myself out of all these quotes and close deals. Like, where do I find the time? How do
Yeah.
I was telling Caleb, this is like, how do I create the time to do all this other
Yeah.
stuff when I like need to be on the job and I need to be training my
Well,
guys or I
you
need
need
to
to
be doing quotes?
compartmentalize, right? Like, I think that's important. When I say that, I mean you need to block out time on your schedule and make it real. You need to say, hey, for this hour, I'm doing gusto, and I'm not going to freaking leave this computer until it's done. When I mean,
Okay.
that's the mentality. It's like, dude, you need to be a boss of yourself before you could be a boss of anyone else. And if you tell yourself that you want to do something, freaking do it, dude. Because guess what? If you lie to yourself, that's when you get depressed. That's when you start feeling the way you're feeling right now, is that you feel overwhelmed, anxious. It's because you've told yourself you want to do something and you're not doing it.
I don't know, man. I work really freaking hard. I just feel like I'm working on the wrong, or I don't, I'm just feel like I need like to create time to work on this other
Right.
stuff
But
and
in
make
other words,
things
I'm
real
saying
and
that you're
official.
telling yourself, hey, I got to work on this other stuff. I got to work on this other stuff. I got to work on this other stuff. I got to work on this other stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not that you're lying to yourself intentionally. It's like you're just filling your schedule with other things, which creates a byproduct of lying to yourself, if that makes sense. If you didn't do it, that's what I'm saying. And it's like, dude, this stuff is hard, bro. Like you're just one person. And it's a lot. These are new territories, signing up for Gusto, caring about people's pay stubs, getting workers' comp, all these things. But what you need to understand is you are on a fast track to $1 million company. Not many people can do that. You're a networker. You're a resourceful individual. I talk to people that can't even get a sub crew that is worth a shot, or employees or people that come to work for them, dude. I'm telling you that
Hmm.
you're going to get there. It's just, do you want to get there and feel proud of yourself, or do you want to get there and look over your shoulder? There's going to be only two options. And when you
Right.
get there and you're proud of
100%.
yourself, and everyone else that helped you get there along the way feels like they contributed to something that takes care of their family, then you'll feel successful.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get there and you're looking over your shoulder because you haven't paid taxes, or the people you have with you aren't the type of people that you're wanting and aren't tired of, and if you get there and you don't have a strategy to look back and say, hey, how do I do that again? Because it's a year after year business. You can't rely on last
Right.
year's money. You need new money every single day in a service-based business. You need a
Right.
strategy for everything. So this is
Right.
way too much to cover in a small coaching session, but I will say that I'm going to give you
Yeah.
3 action items based on what we talked about. Number 1, Gusto should
Okay.
be the first thing you set up today. That should be number 1.
Okay.
Got to get on Gusto. Got to get that set up. Number 2, you need to hire a marketing agency. That needs to be something that you put on your gold star list. I know you know how to market. I know that you probably could do it. Again, remember, I can cut my lawn, but I'm not going to do it because I have better things to do, right? Your time has become very
Okay.
valuable as a business owner, Matt. You have to be able to split that off, okay? You got a lot going on, buddy. And I love the notepad, man. You're in it, man. And number 3, okay, this is most important. Identify what you do and how much you're going to sell it for. And say no to anything outside of that box. Those are your 3 action items. And I promise you, if you go to bat on those 3 things, you will come out with one thing, and that's clarity is what you need right now.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you
And
so
then
much. I really
we'll
appreciate
go
it.
from there. Hit me up in a couple weeks. You and Caleb are now buddies of mine. Good luck, brother. You got this, man.
I appreciate it. Thank
All
you
right,
so
pal.
much.
Yeah. You
Have
too,
a
man.
good one.